Gen Z's work ethic. What boomers don't get. Indolent, rightfully so, constantly on their mobile devices. For some boomers, this is how they characterize Generation Z. Does it hold any truth? Is it possible that we are witnessing the generation that is the most hardworking and adaptable to date, but they are just playing by an entirely new set of rules? The truth about the work ethic of Generation Z is going to be dissected today, along with the reasons why older generations might be completely misinterpreting it. The generational clash. Every generation, let's face it, is subject to criticism from the generation that came before it. There was a time when boomers were subjected to similar accusations from their own parents. But when it comes to Generation Z, the conflict feels even more intense because the workplace itself has undergone a transformation that is beyond recognition. The boomer generation came of age during a period of relative stability. A 9-to-5 job, continued loyalty to your employer, advancement in your career, the purchase of a home, and retirement with a pension are all things that you have accomplished. Commitment to a single employer was not merely considered normal, rather, it was respected. Those individuals who adhered to the system's guidelines were appropriately rewarded, and the path to achievement was relatively straightforward. As a result of the 2008 financial crisis, the COVID-19 pandemic, rising living expenses, and the gig economy, Generation Z entered adulthood during a period of economic instability. As they watched, millennials put in countless hours of work, but struggled under the weight of student debt and wages that remained stagnant. They were raised connected to the internet, exposed to opportunities all over the world, and aware that traditional career paths do not guarantee financial security anymore. It is possible that boomers will label the behavior of Generation Z as laziness or entitlement when they observe them switching jobs on an annual basis, engaging in aggressive negotiations, or refusing to work unpaid overtime. However, decisions like these are important for Generation Z because they are about self-preservation, fair compensation, and adjusting to a world in which loyalty to a single firm often helps the employer more than it does the individual. What Gen Z values in work. One of the most significant kinds of misunderstandings? Gen Z does not reject work. Rather, they reject paradigms of labor that are no longer relevant. What motivates them to put in hard effort is as follows. Flexibility is preferable to rigidity. To the baby boomer generation, showing up to work was a sign of dedication. Outcomes, not location, are the most important thing for Generation Z. They don't see any need to spend hours traveling to and from work when the same responsibilities can be completed remotely, and in many cases, they are even better. Putting purpose before paycheck. Money is still important to Generation Z, but they are not ready to compromise their mental health or their principles in order to get it. In terms of environmental sustainability, social justice, or diversity, they are looking for positions that are congruent with their core beliefs. Ongoing education and training. Gen Z is aware that technology is constantly evolving in contrast to the boomer generation, which frequently acquired a skill set and continued to use it. The foundation of their work ethic is flexibility, which they achieve by taking online classes, watching tutorials on YouTube, and working on side projects. The integration of work and life. Work is not something that entirely dominates their lives, contrary to what some people believe. Either by making money off of a pastime or by working as freelancers in addition to their regular jobs, they are combining their personal hobbies with their professional endeavors. Exactly what is it? They are not allergic to laborious work. Rather, they have a distinct conception of what constitutes production. Why boomers misinterpret Gen Z's behavior. Many baby boomers believe that work ethic is synonymous with visible effort, which includes things like coming early, working late, and being seen at the desk. The work ethic of Generation Z, on the other hand, is output-oriented. They do not care how many hours they are logged in. What matters is the work that they do. Misunderstandings may arise in the following situations. Transferring jobs. Boomers view it as a lack of devotion. In the eyes of Generation Z, It is a deliberate professional progression strategy, which involves going ahead more quickly by switching positions rather than waiting years for a promotion. A preference for working distantly. Boomers may have the misconception that working from home results in lower levels of productivity. However, research indicates that Gen Z workers who work from home often put in longer hours, although in spurts that are more flexible. Rejecting overtime. Boomers consider staying late as devotion. Gen Z perceives continuous overtime as an indication of weak management or burnout culture. Using technology constantly. To some boomers, checking a phone at work appears like a distraction. For Gen Z, it's a multitasking tool, communicating, researching, and collaborating in real time. Gen Z demonstrates their work ethic by their performance, while boomers demonstrated their work ethic through their presence. And since their tools, industry, and prospects are so different, the old school idea of hard labor doesn't necessarily apply. The economic reality driving Gen. The members of Generation Z did not just wake up one day and decide to work differently. Rather, they were compelled to do so. Extremely high cost of living. Prices of homes have risen in recent years. Unless you have many sources of income, in many nations, the idea of owning a house seems out of reach. Loans for students. As a result of the skyrocketing prices of higher education, young people who are just beginning their professions are now confronted with a heavier financial burden than previous generations were. Competition on a global scale. As a result of technological advancements, members of Generation Z are now competing not just with individuals in their city, but also with talent from all over the globe. Because of this, they are compelled to continually adapt their talents and come up with new ideas. Lack of stability in the job market. Layoffs, automation, and changes in industry were all hastened as a result of the epidemic. The fact that whole industries disappeared abruptly taught members of Generation Z that they should not depend on a single employment. These circumstances give rise to a generation that is self-sufficient, enterprising, and quick to adjust to new circumstances. It is not a pleasure to engage in the economy of side hustles. Rather, it is a financial lifeline. Working a single job for decades made sense for baby boomers since their pay was comparable to the cost of living during that time period. The numbers don't stack up when it comes to Generation Z. For this reason, in addition to their principal profession, they develop content, administer online businesses, and juggle freelancing tasks. Their behavior is not a case of laziness. Rather, it is a matter of survival in an economy that is skewed against them. What boomers can learn from Gen Z. Instead of rejecting Gen Z's work ethic, boomers should benefit from appreciating the particular characteristics this younger generation brings to the workplace. Adaptability. Gen Z is very proficient at learning new systems fast and responding to continual change in technology and business trends. A healthy work-life balance. They realize the hazards of burnout and make mental and emotional well-being a priority. Understanding it maintains long-term productivity. Tech mastery. Digital tools and platforms are second nature, helping them to simplify operations and solve issues swiftly. Global mindset. Raised in a connected world, kids welcome variety and seek possibilities without geographical borders. At the same time, Gen Z may learn from boomers, especially perseverance throughout setbacks, creating solid professional connections and committing to long-term objectives. When both generations are their abilities, cooperation replaces rivalry, and companies become more inventive and peaceful. Conclusion. Gen Z's work ethic isn't disappearing, it's developing. They work diligently, yet with a sense of intelligence, combining the traditional commitment with the contemporary efficiency. They have developed a method of working that places a premium on outcomes, meaning, and well-being, despite having grown up in a world that is fraught with uncertainty and high levels of pressure throughout their lives. As far as the baby boomer generation is concerned, they are defying the established norms, but maybe it is just what the future needs. Work is no longer about where you sit from 9 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon. Rather, it is about how good you are at delivering value, regardless of whether you are working at an office, a cafe, or on a laptop at midnight. In the event that older generations are able to refrain from passing judgment and begin to comprehend, we may be able to recognize the truth. Generation Z is not abandoning hard labor. Rather, they are reinventing it for a new decade. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe for more.